Hi, I'm John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to our special edition here at Indiana University at the Kelley School of Business. I have with me today Jim Holmen, who is Director of Admissions and Financial Aid for the MBA program. To my immediate left, I have Rebecca Cook, who is the Executive Director of the MBA program. And then we have two second-year students, people who are transitioning in their careers from one place to another. We have Tyler and we have Sonia. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
So let's start with you two, right?
Yes.
Because you two have made a very big and important choice in your professional lives. You've decided to take 2 years out of the workforce and to come and take a bet, in a way, on a future career. So now, Tyler, you had been working at PepsiCo in supply chain management.
Yes.
Sonia, you came from a nonprofit, but before that you were with Deloitte for 3 years in technology consulting in India.
Mm-hmm.
What did the two of you hope to get out of an MBA to begin with?
Wow, so I think when I was looking at the MBA program, I think first was alignment to my career goals. So my short-term goal was to build subject matter expertise in business strategy. My long-term goal was to be an entrepreneur. So I was looking at a course that would give me that opportunity to very early on in the MBA program really curate my experience so that I could get the kind of learning curve that I wanted, which is something that happens in Kelley because right in the second semester, with the exception of 2 courses, you can actually start choosing your own electives and curating your experience. And the second one was the John Center of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. So I was looking at learning the foundations of the basic facets of business as well as what is it to be like the 101 of an entrepreneur. So I think that was something that was really attracted me to this particular program because I could get both the kind of learning experience that I wanted.
Right. And Tyler, for you?
It was definitely to build my technical skills, being a career switcher from supply chain operations to marketing and brand management. Kelley is one of the best when it comes to not just marketing and brand management in general, but the GCS staff is phenomenal in helping students make the pivot from whatever it is, whether it's supply chain operations to marketing or opera singing to marketing. They have a phenomenal program, and that is definitely one of the reasons why I decided to come to Kelley over the other options that I had.
Now, you're not a Puccini fan, are you?
No.
Oh, okay. Just wonder where the opera reference came from.
Yeah, one of my classmates, who was also in the Consumer Marketing Academy, actually made the transition. He was a professional opera singer.
Really?
And now he interned with me actually at Procter & Gamble. So he did a phenomenal job. So Kelley does wonders for everybody.
That's right. And you interned at P&G this
Yes.
summer and came back with an offer.
Yes.
Some of you interned at Airbnb in the Bay Area, in San Francisco, in fact, in strategy and operations.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me how hard it was to get those 2 plum internships to begin with.
Wow. So my internship search was probably slightly different because it was an off-campus recruitment for the most of it. So it started off me was such a key kickstarter for me because I think MBA is about a 2-year journey about professional transition and personal transformation. So I think very early on to have that really strong foundation of self-awareness that the MEAN facilitates really helped me saying, okay, this is who I am, this is the kind of career aspirations that I have and how do I go about it. So once I knew that clear path right at the beginning, I could then focus on saying what industries am I looking at, what are the companies that align to the core values that I have as a person, and then start reaching out to them and genuinely building connections because now I was applying for roles where I knew I could be a value creator and I was genuinely interested in getting to know the company that I was going to be a part of. So that was really helpful. And to have people here who are there every time you reach out to them, you're like, hey, I have this problem. Oh my God, I'm not doing well here. This is a problem. They're like, it's fine. It's helpful. It's helpful to have a lovely team like that.
Yeah. It was not difficult. I would say Kelley, what they do is they do an amazing job of preparing you. I can't speak highly enough of the GCS program that we have here. Going through the recruiting process is definitely a grind, but I can definitely say that going through the process that I went through, which was the pre-MBA track, I recruited through pre-MBA recruiting opportunity, got the opportunity to go to Procter & Gamble's brand camp, and as I saw my peers and how they were prepared versus Kelley's and the other Kelleys who also interviewed and went through the process, we were leaps and bounds ahead of our peer set in terms of our preparation, in terms of how we interview, our networking presence and everything, because Kelley puts in the work with you from the moment that you accept and sign on the dotted line. They don't wait until you show up on campus to start preparing you. If you're going through MBA, pre-MBA recruiting, then you have access to GCS team, career coaches, and advisors to make sure that you are not only representing the best version of Kelley, but also the best version of yourself from the moment you say yes to Kelley.
Right. Now, Jim, you admitted these two, right?
Yes.
As the head of admissions.
I take full credit.
So when you evaluate candidates and ultimately decide on whether or not they are to come or not, do you look at what their career goals are and whether you think the school can fulfill their dreams?
Definitely. I mean, whenever we look at a candidate, we're taking a look at what they have accomplished, the impact they've had in the industry or the work that they have done, whether they're an opera singer, a professional athlete, or a supply chain professional. We know what kind of support they're going to get from our graduate career services team, our career coaches, and the others that they'll work with. We know the strength of our academies, so we know how we can fill in the gaps and bring them to a higher level. There's an element of risk, I think, in many admission decisions, because you have to look at potential, because not everybody, when they submit their application, is perfect. And you do have to take a few leaps of faith when you look at some of the interesting backgrounds that they have. But we also know that the Kelley MBA experience, the classroom discussions, the team encounter is going to be far richer because of the diversity of students in the program. So yes, we take a look at what they've done in the past, but we're looking for transferable skills, we're looking for potential, we're looking for grit, we're looking for drive, and put that together with what I know that they'll get here, and then we end up with some great success stories.
So grit, drive, intelligence, these two personify, right?
Exactly.
Okay, good. And Rebecca, how does the program shape and help people make these transitions in their careers? When I think of Kelley, I think of a number of differentiators. Number one, integrated core. Number two, Me Inc., which is the career professional development track. I think of the academies that help prepare at almost like a funnel to bring expertise to individuals and skills that allow them to, at the other end of the funnel, get to where they want to be. Right. Can you speak more specifically about these different parts of the program?
Sure.
And how they enable people to do a single, a double, or a triple jump? We know what a triple jump is, right? That's when you change discipline, industry, and geography all at the same time with your MBA.
And we have a lot of people who do that,
Right.
actually. So yes, it really all starts with Me Inc. And that even starts, like Tyler mentioned, well before the students step foot on campus. So they come, a lot of our students come for Kelley Experience Weekend, which is usually mid-April or so. And then we have all of the students go through summer pre-work, about 30-ish hours of summer pre-work, and getting them used to thinking about themselves. Most people don't take the time to think, what did I like about my prior career? What did I not like about it? What motivates me? What demotivates me?
So pre-work is primarily introspection.
It is, right. I mean, I don't know about you, but most people don't sit and introspect about themselves a lot.
No, I'm a doer. I don't think so much.
So, but we make them. And because it's a great time to reset. They're choosing to come to an MBA program to make that change in most cases.
How do you make someone introspective?
Well,
Are
by
there
asking-
tests or what
There
is
is
it?
a test,
Okay.
Kiersey. It's like MBTI, so it's a personality test. Then it's a lot of questions. It's like, think back to a time at your work that you were really motivated. And then why? What motivated you? The flip side, when were you demotivated? What was it about that? And we look at other skills where they rank themselves in terms of analytical skills, communication skills, risk-taking, and just spend some time with that.
Right.
We actually then, all of that is submitted before the actual Me Inc. starts, which is 2 weeks before actual classes start. And as we break the class during Me Inc., we break roughly 200 students into about 12 different classrooms. So depending on the number, 15 to 20 students per classroom. They're all run by a facilitator and a co-facilitator. So the facilitator comes from Graduate Career Services, GCS, as I mentioned, or the MBA office. And the co-facilitator is a student.
Oh.
So for example, Tyler...
A second-year student,
Yeah,
right?
second year,
Okay.
yep. So Tyler was my co-facilitator this year.
Uh-huh.
And we spend time...
And how many in one group?
15 to 20.
Uh-huh. And who gets access to those, that pre-work
We
stuff?
do.
So you know on a fairly intimate basis then the aptitudes, the goals, the desires of each of the people in the room.
Definitely.
And you know their inner secrets, because you know when they were demotivated and when they were motivated.
Exactly.
Which is to know a lot about a person, actually.
It is.
Right.
So we come into that classroom and knowing a lot about these students, but never actually having met them. And then that first day of Me Inc., we have them draw a picture of their life story. So it's taking a lot of the things.
A picture, what, like a Rorschach test?
No, like it's a 18 by 24 piece of paper.
Oh.
And really map.
And they draw like a timeline for
Kind
themselves?
of. Some,
Okay.
some draw timelines, some draw circles, some draw just different pictures, some do words. But it's how do you describe your life story with 8 to 10 different key points.
Now, why is that helpful?
Because then they present it in front of their classmates. So this is
Oh.
the first day of class. They've met their classmates a couple hours. And all of a sudden they're presenting for about 5 minutes and telling their life story.
Okay, so I'm immediately imagining what would Sonia say. Would she say, I'm an engineer who never wanted to be an engineer?
Oh wow! So I remember my chart. So it basically had like a caricature of me with curly hair, and then there were like 3 paths that went. So I'm a person of multiple interests. I'm a musician, and then I'm
What do you
into
play?
business. So I sing.
Oh, okay.
So I remember putting all those 3 points and saying, hey, this is what I did in each of these 3 paths of my career, and this is why I'm at Kelley, and this is where I want to go.
Yeah.
I remember that one. Yeah, it was like a big arch. Yeah, it was fun.
So in the goal of the exercise too, I imagine, is to get each of the students knowing each other at a
Exactly.
level that they otherwise wouldn't be able to, even on their own. It
Exactly.
would take a much more longer period of time, right?
Right.
So
we
you're
start with,
establishing that in the group.
right, we're establishing trust
Yeah.
and openness.
Yeah.
And we're also establishing what is someone highlighting about themselves, because we're beginning to put together that brand. The 2 weeks during Me Inc., they spend a lot of time focusing on that brand. What are
Meaning the personal brand.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. What are they projecting about themselves? And so it's always interesting to hear what people highlight about their career. And then later on, as they're actually creating the written version of that brand, what's missing? What's different? What stood out to classmates that maybe you're not highlighting that you should? And so it's
To help you achieve that
exactly,
brand
exactly.
and that dream.
And students remember each other's stories, and they're very moving. I mean, this year in our class, some of us were brought to tears in some of
Really?
these stories. Oh, yes.
Tyler, what brought you to tears?
I'm not going to highlight a particular story, but I think what's particularly moving about the Me Inc. experience as a facilitator and getting to witness what happens from the 2 students' perspective is the amount of vulnerability that they bring to the table. It really is a closed door session, because there are things that are said that, like, what happens here stays here. And when you establish that...
This is like Vegas?
Exactly. When you establish that level of those boundaries, and then you have this level of trust that comes up, it opens the door for deep reflection, but also very intimate moments of sharing.
Yeah.
And in that sharing, there's not just like, you're not just telling the story to other people, but for many people, it's the first time they've told this story to themselves because they've thought this deeply about it. And when you see that light bulb go off, it's an amazing moment. I remember the first time that happened for me was before Me Inc. When I was doing some of the pre-work, and I was like, oh, this makes sense now. And then I also was brought to tears because, like, I've been wasting so much time. But to see that moment in the classroom in the Me Inc. session, it's truly unique to, I would say, the Kelley experience, and it's definitely something that I would highlight is one of the primary reasons to come here is not just for the MBA. If you walk out of Kelley and all you get is a piece of paper with 3 letters on it, then I would say you missed the point. It's definitely about coming and learning more about yourself and becoming more self-aware so that you can project your best self to the world and know what that best version of yourself looks like as you walk along that journey.
Right. And the learning and the work on yourself certainly doesn't end with those initial exercises
Right.
that the 2 of you have been deeply involved in.
Right.
So where does it go from there?
So after we spend the 2 weeks in Me Inc., the students actually start class.
Right. And that's when you get the integrated core,
Correct.
which is a real grind with the 1 grade for
Yes.
all of that work,
It is.
which is still incredibly novel and unusual in the world of MBAs.
It is, and it's hard, but it's designed to, you're learning a lot of different concepts, and it's integrated in the sense of one builds into the other, and cases tie together. And so it really is a chance for you to, what you start with and what you end with, you're a vastly different person in terms of knowledge.
And usually admissions evaluates people on their ability to get through the core. Is that
Yes.
right? By and large? I
We're
mean,
certainly
that's
looking
what-
at their ability to be successful academically.
Yeah, and that's what standardized testing is all about, really nothing more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you're making an admission decision, you're certainly looking at their past academic record, their test scores, to make sure that they have the potential to handle the academic rigors of the program. But then once you put that aside, then it's everything else that they bring to the table that becomes much more interesting in making an admission decision, what they've accomplished, the impact that they've had in their past careers, as I said before, their transferable skills, their reasons for pursuing an MBA, their goals, and the degree to which we believe we can help them achieve those goals, what their recommender says about them, and the other glimpses that they provide into who they are,
Right.
what's important to them.
And Soumya, how did you sort of survive the core?
Wow, I think a big credit of that goes to my team because we were in it right from the beginning. So we started bonding right at MEINC because you start the course with your team at MEINC, and then I think going with your team in the same manner, like every single time you're sitting with them and you're like, hey, we're getting through something difficult, we're going through it together, we're going to celebrate our successes together. And it really helps to have someone else in the journey with you, going through the same thing that you are, because it makes you a lot more stronger, it motivates you and inspires you to give it your best no matter what, because at the end of the day, it's not your personal work at stake, you have 4 more people's grade at stake. So you're going to work twice as harder, you're going to work because you have the responsibility of others as well. So that really helped. And I think the professors, a big shout out. You can see me glow or gleam every time I talk about them because they are the highlight for my MBA here, because the culture here at Kelley not just helps you to build a professional relationship with them in the classroom setting, but I can actually go knock at a professor's door and say, hey, I think you're a really interesting person, can we just grab a coffee or meal sometime? I would really love to get to know you better. And I think to have that kind of culture that helps you to build that kind of relationship really helps, because you're now not just sitting in a class, but you're actually wanting to learn what you're doing and you want to be good at it. So that was really helpful. Yeah.
Tyler, how was the core different from your undergraduate experience?
Oh man, it's a lot more intense. So undergrad experience, you have 16 weeks to take one class, or a series of classes, but they're all over 16 weeks or so.
And they're all unrelated to each other.
Exactly, for the most part. When you get to
And
the
you're taking them with different people in every class.
Exactly.
People you generally do not know.
Very true. But the primary difference that I had was the professors. The small class, relatively smaller classroom sizes that you get in the MBA program here at Kelley allow you to have deeper and more intimate relationships with professors. And what's unique about our professors is that when they're teaching core, that's all they're doing is teaching the core. So perfect example is I was working on an accounting assignment and it was Sunday, it was 10 o'clock at night, I emailed my professor, Professor, I'm having issues, can we talk tomorrow? And he says, actually, he shoots me a note back in 10 minutes. He says, actually, we can talk right now. And he says, call me at this number and we can chat through what you're having issues with. You don't get that type of experience, I would argue, in many other MBA programs, and definitely not at the undergraduate level where you have mostly GAs teaching your courses. So having that level of exposure and intimate relationships with the professor definitely helped me get through the rigors of the course.
So let's play the numbers game. So you're in these groups, 15 roughly.
Yep.
And then you join one of 3 cohorts because the size of the incoming class is roughly around 180, 185. So that makes each cohort have around 60 or 62 students each. And in the 62 group of cohort, let's say, you're still within the 15, or how does that work? Or are there other teams that are broken down?
Right, actually, so within the MEINC classroom, our cohorts are called colors. So
Colors.
red, blue, and green. Your red cohort, blue cohort, green cohort.
Okay.
I
What
don't know
colors
why.
were you two?
I was in blue.
I was in red.
Okay, we got red.
I was in red too.
Okay. So only green is missing.
Right, but the MEINC classrooms, actually, somebody else was, yeah. So the MEINC classrooms are designed purposely to have one team of red, one team of blue, one team of green, and then if we have, depending on the class side, we may have another team from those colors.
Huh.
But it's purposeful in the sense of you are not going to be in class with all these people, but you're getting to know them really, really closely.
I see. Right. Is there competition among the colors?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Our red cohort was definitely the best cohort last year.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's all right. That's a relative opinion because scale is so relative, but yeah, I will let him think that.
Now, for a lot of people, it's kind of like mind-numbing to think that you would go through this entire experience and only come out of it with one grade, which is almost a little more terrifying. You know, there are people who say, okay, well, maybe I get a C in this, but then I'll get 2 or 3 A's and maybe 1 B, and I feel good about that. But putting all your chips on the table on one number, which is the equivalent of getting 1 grade out of all these different integrated courses, isn't it kind of daunting?
I think I would look at it from a different perspective. So I think, yes, you do have one destination that you're trying to reach at the end of the day, but I think it's a stepwise process and it's an incremental process. So if you're taking 3 courses, I think the goal now is, because it's one destination at the end of it, you're trying to do your best to understand each course and try to be a value creator in each of them, because you know that if you are doing a good job understanding the concepts, you better do well in your exams, because it's a dominoes effect that happens. And I think the approach changes, which is why I like the 1 grade system, because yes, it's a high stake outcome, but I think that really helps you fine-tune and streamline your preparation process in ways that you can actually maximize your learning. So I really like that system about it here.
Definitely. It for me, in my own perspective, that one singular grade takes the emphasis off of the grade and puts it back onto the learning component. Even the professors, they come in and say, look, my goal is not for you to get an A in stats or finance or economics. My goal is for you to understand the materials. And if you understand the material, your grade will reflect that.
Right.
And that's what I appreciated most about the program. Like that level of commitment to learning and putting the onus of that on the students, it helps me de-stress. Okay, it's not about what grade I get on this accounting exam, even though you want to do well. It's let me understand the material well enough so that I can know the material. Because if all you're doing is regurgitating information and you don't get it, then the grade is irrelevant.
Right.
But if you do understand the material and you don't do as well because you didn't just regurgitate what you heard in class, I would say that now you've learned something and now you can actually apply that in the real world.
Right. And Rebecca, the core is essentially the foundation of business knowledge.
It is.
It's not something that's going to help you necessarily transition into a new career, is it?
It's a piece of it. It's the beginning.
Yeah.
Because remember, as we talked earlier, the core, our students are very diverse. The opera singers to the business undergrads.
So this is a leveling.
Kind of. Some have had some of these classes before. Some have had none of these classes before.
Right.
And so it's kind of bringing everybody up to the basic knowledge in 8 different subjects.
And no one waves out, right? In other words, if I come in here as a finance expert, that doesn't mean I don't have to take any finance courses, right?
CPAs have to take accounting.
Right, because this way I'm in the class able to help other people
Exactly.
who are being exposed to this material for the very first time.
And that's, I think, one of the really nice things about Kelley is the classmates do help each other. So your CPAs, for example, in accounting, do step up and help their classmates.
Right.
It's everyone's coming together to learn. It's not a cutthroat, where only 3 of us get A's type thing.
Right.
It's much more of a learning, like
Yeah.
the students talked about.
Only the colors are cut through, not the individuals.
Exactly. That's just more for fun.
In meantime, while you're going through the core, do you suspend me ink, or is that an
It
underlying
continues.
feature of
Correct.
the program for all 2 years?
So during the core, the students then join the academies, which you mentioned
Right.
earlier. So there are 6 different academies. It's consumer marketing, business marketing, consulting, supply chain, strategic finance, which is corporate finance, and capital markets.
Right.
And so what you want to think about is the core is your beginning of your academic knowledge. The academies are more of your experiential knowledge. And they're designed to help you get to what you want to do next. That kind of that first jump or that potentially second jump.
So what happens in the academy?
So within the academies, we meet 5 different Fridays throughout the fall, and a week in October, actually, which was last week. And so within this academy, they all are designed to provide the knowledge of what they want to do. So for example, I run the Capital Markets Academy. And within my academy, we've had 2 Academy Fridays where I've brought in a ton of different speakers who are experts in equity research or fixed income research or investment banking, private wealth.
So wait, is this where I raise my hand and I say I want to work for Morgan Stanley and make $1 million in 2 years?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But it's for students designed for my academy, they're interested in the markets.
Yeah.
So they want to typically go into investment banking, investment management, treasury, maybe some M&A. And so my academy is designed to say, okay, you're interested in this space, let me provide you the tools and the knowledge to help you get there.
Right.
And so for our Academy Week, and actually almost all the academies will travel. So I took my students to Chicago and New York last week, and we visited 14 different firms over 4 days. And it was awesome. A lot of fun. And the students are exposed to seeing companies, listening to different alumni, seeing different cultures. Every place has a different fit and a culture.
Indeed.
And trying to figure out, do I really want to do this? And not every investment bank is created equal, and not every investment management firm is created equal. And is this really what I want to do? So the academies are, again, that experiential side, that throughout the fall we're training the students how to be good at whatever it is they're interested in, and then hopefully to get that internship.
I see.
Then to your original question, though, Me Inc., each of those academies then have a dedicated career coach. And through each of the Academy Fridays, and actually sometimes part of that Academy Week, that career coach comes in and builds on everything they learned in Me Inc. So expanding the networking aspect, expanding the interviewing, both behavioral and case. It's building on everything. And they're also the career coach is someone there to start talking through, am I headed down the right path or not?
Right. Now, I know every applicant tells Jim exactly what they intend to do
Yes.
with an MBA, even if they don't have a clue.
Right.
But what about those students who don't have a clue? How can they commit so early on in the process to an academy?
Right, and we help them a lot through that. So Me Inc. Is a lot of, again, that self-discovery.
So that
through-
pre-work goes back into that.
It does.
Goes back into the 1-week sessions that are facilitated to get you on track quicker.
Well, it begins
right?
to get you thinking, what do I like to do? Am I drawn to numbers? Am I drawn to more of a marketing side? Do I like figuring out how things work and run in terms of operations? So it's just the beginning. And then we present all the different academies to the students, and they have a chance to go meet with as many academy directors as they want. And then they do join an academy roughly end of August, early September. Now, you can always change academies.
Right.
So if someone starts in an academy and realizes, I don't really like this, or I think I should do something else, then you switch.
Right.
It's really not a big deal.
And do a lot of people switch?
No, about 5 to 10 per year.
Oh, that's not many.
This year I think we've had 4.
So you get people on track pretty good, and pretty fast.
It is, and then they work with that academy director and the career coach, and just, again, make sure they're heading in that right path. Does this still make sense? And it's not a competition between academies, it's just we work together. We meet once a month as academy directors, and it's more of, let's make sure our students are heading in the right direction. They're taking the time and the energy, spending the money to come to grad school, so let's help them figure out what that is.
So Selma, what academy were you involved in?
I was a part of the consulting academy.
Oh, consulting?
And yeah.
Even though you were in strategy and operations for Airbnb in your internship?
Yeah, so I think for me, I look at consulting, the reason why I joined it for it was a different reason. So I told you before we were talking, and I said, I love black box problems, and I wanted to build a subject matter expertise in understanding what strategy is all about. And consulting for me is the ability or the art of building this toolbox that you can use to solve any problem across any industry.
Right.
And the Consulting Academy really gave me that foundation on what business strategy was all about. So I didn't come into the Consulting Academy with the aim of getting into a consulting firm. I came in with the intention to learn about what business strategy was all about. So.
Got it. And just to demystify the term academy, it seems like it's much more specific professional development.
It is.
Like in the early part of the professional development part of Me Inc., it's more about exploring who you are and who you want to become, essentially. And then once you kind of decide what you want to become, you're put into one of the tracks. And then it's all about, okay, here's what the different careers look like. Here are the different companies that are in this industry. Here are the different roles that you might play. And here are the skills and abilities that you need to map up with those career options,
Yes.
right? And how can we help you get there?
Correct. It is very much professional skill sets.
Right. Now, a lot has been said about people go out on their internships, and some people have a full 1-year core, and they don't have the advantage of taking electives, let's say, that deepen your knowledge in the field in which you're going to enter during your internship. Because if you do have that option, you're able to impress the employer a lot more quickly than you would if you just had the core and nothing else.
Correct.
How does it work at Kelley?
So we have the first semester is the core, and then
Right.
starting in the second semester, you can take all electives. So the students can take 4 electives we have 7-week blocks of classes. So essentially, they could take 8 classes of their choice before they go into an internship.
Okay, Tyler, how many brand management courses did you take in that second semester then?
Actually, I only took one marketing course.
That's it?
One marketing course. So this is what I would say about
Man.
the academies. The academies do such a phenomenal job of preparing you from a technical skill set perspective that the courses and elective courses that you can take are more so an addendum to your experience based off the career path that you choose. So when you go through the academy, you have workshops on Fridays. In the second semester, you have workshops on Fridays where you're learning the technical skills. You are having an academy project that you're working on that is very much resembles the work that you will be doing as an intern. And then that's over the course of the first 7 weeks. The second 7 weeks for the Consumer Marketing Academy, our academy directors actually brought in practitioners who came in and taught us how to leverage some of the tools and frameworks and strategies that we would be leveraging in our internships. So that gave me the flexibility to take classes that I really wanted to take, like negotiations. I was able to go and participate in a global consulting trip, which is the Glow-based program. And I was able to do some other things as well because the academy did such a good job of giving me that hands-on experience to prepare for the internship.
And your Glow-based program was where?
I went to Vietnam.
Vietnam?
Yes.
What did you do in Vietnam?
I worked on a consulting project for a coconut farm. It was a supply chain and growth strategy, so they needed to figure out how do we optimize our own supply chain on this side of the world, and then B, how do we take this model and commercialize this product in the United States.
Oh.
So that was something I got to work on for 6 weeks stateside with my team, and then we flew to Vietnam for 2 weeks and worked with the client, and then got to implement the project there.
Wow. Now, did you get the advantage of a Glow-based project as well? Where did you go?
So I'm in Ghana, and I was working with a team where we were leading the strategy management efforts to define the minimally viable product for an incubator that was trying to provide farm management solutions to farmers to help them manage their crop rotations and yields using technology as a platform. And yeah, it was a humbling experience. You come out of it as a different person.
Now, were you able to take electives that better prepared you for your internship at Airbnb?
Oh, wow, that's a good one. So I think, yes, I think the core classes as well as a couple of classes, it gives you a sort of a framework or a toolkit that you can build, but then once you go in a company like an Airbnb, you can't rely heavily on the coursework that you are because a lot of it is so dynamic. It's such an ambiguous environment where you're constantly changing. So it's the foundation that you build on, but this program definitely helped me build a strong foundation in terms of the strategy classes that I had with Greg Fisher and marketing strategy, venture strategy, so that was really helpful. Yeah.
So, Rebecca, when people come back from an internship, what happens to them at Kelley? Do they just have free reign? They just have fun for the next year?
Some. Roughly about, depends on the year, but roughly about 50% of our students come back with offers. And some of those students then choose to accept those offers, and some choose to look at other opportunities. So really it's a wide range of what they come back to do. Some love their internships, some don't. Or realize,
You're not cut out for the particular field.
I don't want to do marketing,
that
I want to do
company or
something
whatever.
else. Right.
Uh-huh.
So it's more of an opportunity for them to come back and reset. And we actually have something called Me Inc. 2.0.
2.0.
So the first one is Me Inc. And then 2.0 is it's 2 days right before classes start for our second years where they can review on interviewing or case interviewing or, okay, I had an offer, now what? How do I
Right.
negotiate? Or I didn't get an offer, now what? How do I reset? And
So you're teaching Tyler how to get P&G to pay him more?
sure, yeah.
Okay, good. That's a good deal.
Exactly. So really, it's a chance for them to come back and say, okay, depending on what happened on that internship, how do I now focus my education to either finish that track, so
Mhm.
for Tyler taking more marketing and other classes he's interested in, or for others to reset and say, okay, I didn't like the marketing, now I want to focus on management or supply chain or
Right.
something.
Right.
So, but there's, again, it's 7-week blocks, so plenty of time to take lots of different electives.
And are there specializations or concentrations in the program?
In terms of majors?
Yeah.
Yes, oh yes.
Right.
The typical, I mean, we have your finance, your marketing, your operations, your management. You also can do a design major, which is
What's a
something.
design major?
So it's an opportunity if you, I'll actually use some of my students, for example. They want to focus on finance, but specifically investments.
Mm.
So they can take some classes and create something that's much more focused on an investment management area
I see.
or investment banking than a typical traditional finance major.
And you call it a major?
It is, and they just
Okay.
you can come up with you have to get a name approved, but usually you come up with a fun name for it.
Mhm. What are you majoring in then?
So I'm trying to specialize in strategy and entrepreneurship.
Right.
So that's been my focus for the last 2 years.
So it's strategy and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You have a double major then?
If everything works out, because I think right now it's just management and entrepreneurship that comes in, so I think I'm
okay.
trying to go for a design major when
I
I'm
see.
coming
Uh-huh.
to entrepreneurship.
Right. Tyler?
I'm a marketing major. I've only decided to go with a single major, giving myself the time and the flexibility to do some of the other second-year activities, such as the Leadership Academy, leading a global-based trip this year to Ghana, being a peer coach to some of the other students, and doing some other student mentoring opportunities that I'm really passionate about.
And that's common here for second-year students, right, to mentor and coach
It is.
first years.
Mhm.
Are you involved in that as well?
Right, so I specialize in case coaching, so I'm a part of, so I help undergrad, like for
That's a
undergraduates.
particular kind of torture.
Yes,
isn't
it is. It is a very specific
Yeah.
kind of tool set. So I think I work with the undergraduates, kids as well as the first years to help them understand, okay, when you get a business case, how do you approach it? How do you try to solve that? So something that I do.
Now, Tyler, you're all wrapped up. Soumya, you had an internship experience where it was just an internship, and now you are on the market. So what is it like in your second year to have to go to company presentations, line up interviews, and go through the process of finding a job? Because that's an important part of the second year experience for the majority of people. Because even if half the people come back with an offer, there's a certain percentage that don't take it.
Correct.
Right? So in every case, more than half the students have to go through this recruiting process in the second year. What's that like?
So I think for the most of it is pretty similar to the internship experience in terms of the anxiety that you have in terms of trying to find the right company fit, what is the role like, but I think it's a lot more easier because you have a lot more clarity in terms of what exactly are you looking for, because when you walk
Right.
out of an internship you're like, these are the things that I know I don't want, and you're also always constantly figuring out what you want. So it always helps to know I don't want this. And then you start off by saying, okay, now that my focus area has narrowed down, what do I do next? And I think it's incremental processes as always. Like you figure out what company, industry, and then you get started off. And it always helps that you've gone through that grind once. So you're a lot more efficient at time management. You're a lot more efficient at networking, and that really helps. And to have like an awesome team like the GCS, who's and I mean it, they're always available when you call them. You're like, I literally run to Susan's office and I'm like, Susan, I need this right now, and she's like, okay, yeah, let's figure it out, let's go with it. So it's amazing to have like a team like that, which is always invested in your growth, and they're personally invested in every student's growth. And I think it's humbling to be part of a culture like that.
Right. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of shaping is there necessary in the second year from the standpoint of helping them make this career transition?
Well, there's still actually quite a lot.
Yeah,
Because
I
again,
bet there is.
you come back from an internship and you've learned a lot.
Right.
Both good and bad.
Is there formal reflection on what you experienced in the program?
There is some.
Yeah.
A lot of it is the beginning, it's meeting with that career coach again. It's meeting with that academic advisor. It's trying to figure out, okay, how do I'm here for this next one more year, how can I make it the best that there is? And thinking through also, what are my gaps?
Right.
I'm good at a lot of things, and I've got an offer, I haven't, but I know what I want to do, so what do I need to fill in? And that's where a lot of the leadership coaching that Tyler mentioned, and Soumya, or the globe-based trips, or we have other coaching throughout more life coaching.
Mhm.
So working with students and really helping them make sure they're making the right decisions, or
Right.
helping them think through other things. Okay, I want to get better at this. How do I do that? And providing people with all the different opportunities. you're hopefully only going back to school, this is your last time. Some people do choose to go on to a PhD.
No.
It happens. But it's, it's a chance for you to say, okay, this is a time I'm resetting, this is a time I'm going to continue growing personally, and figure out what are the areas that I need to grow in to make sure I have the best self leaving.
Right, makes sense. So, you're nearing, not really the end, because this is the beginning of the end in a way. We're still early on in the second year. I wonder how focused you already are on the endpoint, or are you?
Wow, that was a great question. So I think I still go back to the first chart that I drew in MEINC, and I still have my goals, which is to get a private pilot license, attend a course at the Jacobs School of Music, and actually experience what this program is for, and build relationships, which for me are ones that last a lifetime, and not just a network which I build for personal gain.
Right.
So I think I've grown. When I look back at 9 months into this course, it's been phenomenal in terms of how much I've realized that I need to, what development areas I have, and how much more I need to work for. But it's been beautiful. I think there's so much to learn here, and it's a very humbling experience, because every day you walk out and I go home and I'm like, oh my God, I need to be a better person. Oh my God, there's so much to learn. Oh my God, what do I do? So it's lovely. It's lovely to be in that environment which constantly challenges you to be a better version of yourself, and so grateful to it.
Yeah, I'm excited for the end. Because you know that you're getting ready to accomplish something that you set out. And this has been it's been a grind. Like the MBA process is a grind, but it's a beautiful grind. So what I've learned is, over the course, one of the big personal learnings for myself as a result of working with Me Inc. and coaching sessions, is learning to embrace the now and live in the moment. So as much as I'm anticipating being able to go off to work, there is a unique opportunity that I have now as a second year, and just as an MBA student in general, to continue to nourish my own growth and development.
Right.
Because as soon as you get back into the workforce, all that time goes away. You don't just, I can go to class and come home and sit and reflect for 2.5 hours if I choose to. Will I? Probably not. But to have that time and that space and that ability to continue to work on growing into that best version of you, you don't get that back. So as much as I'm anticipating graduation and being able to say, yes, I did it, I'm definitely doing my best to stay in the now and focus on my own growth and development.
Right. Now, all of you know that forever there's been questions about the value of the MBA. We know that over the last 3 consecutive years, applicants in the United States have declined to U.S. schools overall. What do you think about that? Do you think that the MBA has a lot of unrealized value that's unappreciated by a lot of people? Do you think the degree has become too expensive, both in the opportunity costs that are required to leave a job for 2 years and the tuition? What's your sense of the value equation today?
So I think I would say the value of an MBA is a function of the intention with which you come into the MBA program. So I think it really helps to come in for the right reasons. So irrespective of what they are, you really need to know what is it that you're trying to gain out of this 2-year course, because it is definitely an opportunity cost, but it's something I would say is a very good long-term investment, as long as you know you've done it for the right reasons. So I would say if you're coming in for whatever reasons, whether you hate your previous job, or whether you're trying to do a transition, or whether you're like, I don't know where to go next, and a degree sounds like a great idea, I would say really put in that time and effort to figure out what your dreams are, how the MBA is going to align with your passion, and how a school at the end of the day is going to help facilitate the dream that you have. And I think those 3 steps really help you put a very honest effort towards the MBA program than appear as someone that you think a school would like, and then portray yourself to be a part of that. So,
Right.
Yeah, I would say intention really matters.
Tyler, do you have a perspective on that?
She took the words right out of my mouth.
Ah.
Yeah, I think intention, it's all about intention. Why are you doing this? Because if you're not doing this for you, then I would say you probably don't need to do it, because it is an investment. Yes, it is expensive. Yes, there are probably alternative routes to get to the end career path that you want to have. An MBA is a tool that you can leverage to get to where you want to go. In some cases, it's the only route. For example, me transitioning into brand management, most brand management companies only hire and recruit from MBA pools. So it's a necessary thing for me to do.
Absolutely.
But knowing why you're doing this and knowing what you want to get out of that and making sure that you craft that experience to yourself, that's where you're going to get the value out of it. If you're looking at the value that other people place or companies place on that type of experience, then you're always going to be moving towards, they're always going to be moving the field goal, they're always going to be, it's going to be a moving target. If you know what you want to get out of it and you go in and you get those things out of it, then it was a worthwhile investment.
Yeah. Now, Jim, you're at the front of the funnel. How are people thinking about this from your perspective?
You know, there are definitely students out there, prospective students, who are concerned. They want to have it all. They don't want to give up their job, but they want to get an MBA. They want to take the next step with as little sacrifice as possible. And they don't always believe me when I tell them, but the reality is, despite the cost, despite the sacrifice, that opportunity to take 2 years out and spend it focused on your own personal and professional development is a treat. The opportunity to meet new people and to try new things, to explore new opportunities. For the Kelley School, we're lucky in the sense that among the top ranked programs, we actually have one of the lowest, if not the lowest, tuition. And you couple that with some very generous financial aid, that the amount of debt our students leave with is often less. And so if they can put the financial piece aside, we'll help them with that. Taking those 2 years to fully immerse yourself in all the opportunities, you just can't find another opportunity like that.
That's true. And Rebecca, I always think about an MBA as sort of the ultimate gift you give yourself.
That's true.
It's one of the few times in your life that you can actually invest in you and no one else. And as both the two students testified to today, it's a time that affords yourself the luxury of introspection. You know, life goes on very quickly, it's a grind, it's day to day, you get through it, you don't really think too thoughtfully about who you are and what you want to become and what you want to achieve in the short time that we're here. And I think an MBA program can do that.
Definitely. And I can speak best, I mean, I am an MBA from Kelley, so.
You are? Oh, how about that?
But graduated 20 years ago, and.
No, I thought you were a student.
I've been asked, actually. But what, I mean, I look back, it was the 2 best years ever. And in terms of fun, in terms of learning, but I look back, I still talk to probably half my class. And I can call people up all over the world, and I've gone to visit people all over the world. And I wouldn't have that if I hadn't come here.
And that goes back to where we started, the intimacy of the program itself. What does it mean to go to a small program? You know, because you could say, okay, small might mean you know more people. Or does small mean that you not only know people, you know their dogs and their cats, or their children?
Right.
I mean, what does it mean to go to a small program, really?
I think going to a small program can be a lot of things, but I think what the top 2 highlights for me would be relationships for the most of it. Like when you come into an MBA program, it's all about networking. But I think these are relationships that help you form a community that you really care about. And you know this community has your back, no matter which part of the world you are, no matter what role you're, and no matter where you are. So I think to have that kind of confidence, to say that I can come into this program because I have a small class, I can actually get to know each of my classmates, and I'm not going to walk out 2 years down the line knowing, oh, I was just a part of a class, I was in a cohort, I just know like 5 people in my team. So it's really nice to have that kind of feeling where you know people who are started off in, and I know all of them have beautiful, unique journeys, but the fact that you started off with all of them, you play a role in each of them in your own little way for the people that you care, and you walked out of it building relationships of a lifetime. I think that is something, that's super special. Second is, I know it sounds very emotional and it sounds a cliche, but literally, like, I host dinners at my house and I'm like, hey, have you tried Indian food? Please come home. You can have dinner at my house. So I think it's a great confluence of cultural diversity where you're actually learning multiple dimensions to what it takes to be a whole-rounded individual. And I think these people really help you contribute because when you think of an MBA program, diversity always comes in. People are like, that's the reason why I came. To be honest, like I could have done this in India, but the reason I came here is because when you have people coming in from different cultural backgrounds, they have different ways of thinking. And when you're a part of a classroom that helps you appreciate that, you become a lot more whole-rounded. And I think a smaller class just accelerates that experience for you. And it's a lovely experience. I don't know. I'm smiling. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to be a part of a small class.
How does smallness play in the accessibility and the engagement students have with faculty?
Oh, it's huge. The fact that the class sizes are relatively small and the class as a whole is relatively small means that you have an opportunity to develop deep and meaningful relationships with faculty and staff, professors, GCS coaches, anybody who works in the MBA program, from administrative assistants to the dean. They know you, and to a degree, you get to know them at a deeper level. There's times where we've gone to dinner at Jim and Rebecca's house. We've gotten to go to Professor Kalkatani, who chairs the program. We've gotten dinner at his place. We've gotten to interact. The academy directors, they usually, or for CMA, they host something at their place. It's an opportunity for you to make these deep, meaningful connections, and you don't get that everywhere.
No.
And you don't recognize the value of those relationships until after you leave. In the meantime, it's, oh cool, we get to go have free food. But after you leave and after you get to leverage that relationship when you absolutely need it the most, you realize the fruits of the work that you put in and the reasons why you actually took those 2 years to come to an MBA program.
Okay, let's go down the line. Let's say, what's the one thing you want everyone who doesn't know about Kelley to know about the MBA experience here? Jim, put on your cell hat.
Sure. Well, you've talked about small program, but we found the sweet spot. Bringing in about 200 students a year, large enough to be diverse, large enough to be able to offer lots of electives, large enough to attract lots of recruiters, but small enough that you get to have those relationships that the students have talked about. Their life is a little bit easier living in a college town where everyone, faculty, staff, and students all probably live within a 2 or 3 mile radius of campus. But the reason the faculty and staff have the kind of time and availability is because their life is easier living here as well.
Right.
Because at the end of class, they're not looking at their watch thinking, if I don't get in my car right now, my commute's going to go from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Well, their commute's probably 5 minutes. Everyone has more time. But location, with the ease of transportation, the ease of communication, it doesn't make a difference. Location doesn't make a difference. For us, it's just a benefit that Bloomington provides for us. And the other thing I would say, sometimes people think going to school in a college town in Indiana means I'm going to have to work in the Midwest. Because some people actually want to work in the Midwest. But if you look at the class that just graduated, 24% received offers in the West Coast. Another 7, 8, 9% in the Southwest, a full third of our class in the West. You can come to Kelley, you can go anywhere you want.
Right. Okay, Soumya, what would you like people to know about the program that they may not know, or they may not appreciate?
I would say that the biggest highlight here is if you're looking for a team, right from the faculty to the alumni to the students, who is going to be genuinely invested in your success and the dreams that you have in your career path, Kelley is the place to be. I would just say that, yeah.
Tyler?
Kelley walks the talk. As a prospective student, you go and do a lot of research and you're looking on websites and you see buzzwords, collaboration, leadership, this, that, and the other. And it all becomes the same thing and it doesn't really mean anything. And Kelley is one of the few schools that I went to, and probably the only school that I actually set foot on campus on, and I immediately could tell without talking to anybody from admissions, without talking to a student, that they actually live what they preach, because you can feel it. It sounds very emotive and not what a quant would do in terms of putting that on. You can't quantify that on your spreadsheet model into what business school you're going to go to, but you can tell that Kelley walks the talk. And if we put it on paper, it's what we do, and it's not just a selling point for the school. So if you see it, leadership, collaboration, yes, that is us. And we live that. That's just not on the website to make you want to be interested in Kelley. It's there because it's who we are.
Great. Rebecca?
I think I have two things.
Yeah.
So the first one is that we're constantly evolving. And we strive to take a ton of feedback. Starting from the Inc., we get feedback and we change it every year. And in the core and everything else we do, we're always getting feedback from students and changing things and making it better. And so I think there's something about that. It's not stayed, it's not stuck. It's always something that's evolving. And the second really is the people. And it kind of ties to what Tyler said, but it's the reason I came to school here, and it's the reason I came back to work here. And it's the reason I love my job, because I get to meet people like this, become really close with all the students. I'm sad on graduation day, trying not to cry. but then I get to stay in touch with them and see them as they go on the road to recruit or just go visit and get invited to lots of weddings. And it's fun. That's a culture.
Here's to weddings, here's to futures. I want to thank the 4 people who've been with us today. Jim, thank you.
Thank
Sonia,
you.
good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Tyler, I'm going to see you around at P&G someday. I don't know what brand I'm going to pick up in the supermarket that you're going to be handling, but I'm
Get
sure
all of
there'll be
them.
one or more. And Rebecca, thank you.
Thank you.
So this is John Byrne with Poets and Quants at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, at the Kelley School of Business. Thanks for joining us.